Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do all the books that I read during March. So my March wrap up. Wait, hold on, I actually don't know. I read 14 books this month. I don't think I did anything but read this month. And it also has felt like the longest month. So I don't even recall reading half these books, and I think that might be a problem. I think I might have a problem. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go in order of how I read the books. I read however many this is in paperback, and then the rest I read on Kindle Unlimited. Wow, I feel like I read this book like 3 years ago. I'm not even kidding. This month has been one of a kind. And I'm sweating. If my forehead gets progressively shinier through this video, please ignore. I'm hot and I don't want to turn the AC on because it's loud. I had to turn the AC on. I was having a heat stroke, so I hope it's not too loud. First book, we have Lights Out. This is a dark romance that has elements of stalking and unaliving people. What else did they do? Masked men kind of vibe. And I was super excited for this. It's really popular on the internet, TikTok, and I was excited. I was like, I need a dark romance, let's do it. Unfortunately for me, I don't know, I didn't love it. Like, I felt the characters were definitely made for each other. They were both on the same level of morally unwell, but something about it, I just didn't feel for them. Like, I wasn't like rooting for the relationship at all. Just wasn't that invested. But I did love the banter between the two of them. In February, I tried to read it. I stopped around page 60. I was like, you know what? I need to read this in March. So I just made myself read it. But I will say, by the time I got to the epilogue, I was over it. So I literally skimmed the epilogue. I gave it a 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5. It wasn't terrible. I might even try to read the second book by this author. I don't know what it's called. I know it has like a red cover that looks exactly this, but red. But maybe I'll try to read that. Maybe I'll resonate more with book 2. If you like dark romance, I would still recommend, because it was like a good level of dark. It wasn't too dark because I read some crazy ones. But it also wasn't like too fluffy if you're into morally gray books. Now we have my favorite book of the month, I think. It was my second 5-star of the year, and that is A 7-Year Slip. My best friend recommended that I read this, and I read it on vacation. No, I said I've been home all month. Outside of that vacation, I have been home just about every day. While I was gone, I read The 7-Year Slip, and oh my God, I speechless. I absolutely love this book so much. Clementine now lives in her aunt's apartment, and the aunt's apartment has like this magical, there's just like magic to this apartment, and you are able to go through 7-year slips. So you can go 7 years in the past or 7 years in the future. That's where she meets Iwin. I hope I'm saying that right. It was so beautiful. Not only was it a love story between Clementine and Iwin, it was also a love story between Clementine and her aunt, like the love that she had for her and the grieving that she was going through throughout the book, which is absolutely beautiful. I loved it so much. I literally have no other words. You need to read this book. It was so good. And also I loved how the author wrote everything. It was so vivid in my mind. Like, I could just imagine the apartment. I could imagine the streets they were walking down. Like, I could just vividly see everything in my mind. So I feel like she did really good at the describing of the universe, describing of the world. It just loved it. 5 stars. 5 stars. Then we got Miss Frida McFadden, her latest book. I think it came out in February or in March. I don't even know what day it is right now. So this book came out recently. It's her most recent book. And this is The Crash. A pregnant lady, Tegan, was on the road. She got in an accident, and this man ended up finding her on the side of the road, took her back to their house, and things go awry from there. She is stuck at their house, and then, you know, you get the twists and turns as Frida likes to do. I don't want to tell you too much, obviously, because it's a thriller. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like the FMC, not the smartest, not the brightest, and she was also making stupid decisions. As a reader, I was kind of annoyed a little bit throughout the book, but you know, that's Frida for you. It's not very realistic, but it's always gonna be a fast read. You could always knock them out really quickly, and sometimes in the end you might enjoy it. Sometimes you might be like, what did I just read? And that was how I felt at the end of this. I didn't love it. I feel like there's an extra twist at the end that in my eyes was not necessary. Unfortunately, I have to give Frida a 3 out of 5, and that saddens me because I feel like the last couple books I read by her have not been the Frida I know and love. Actually, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Next we have Monarch by Sophia Lark. I love how I just say some authors' names and don't say others. This one is a dark romance. Gives me more gothic vibes than necessarily like dark romance, but I think it's characterized as a dark romance. Elena is set to marry Lorne. I hope that's how you pronounce his name. A man that she doesn't know very well. She can get papers to live in America. The story takes place in a hotel because Lorne's mansion is getting renovated, and that's where she meets Atlas, the owner of the hotel, and the story takes off from there. It is a dark romance in the sense that obviously Lorne is who she's engaged to, but that's not the MMC. Atlas is a love character, so you have to see Lorne go from this Prince Charming to a monster in Elena's eyes. I will say this felt very insta-lovey between Elena and Atlas, which is kind of crazy because there's a third person in this whole story, so to me it was kind of odd that they just were like in love so fast, but it was a fast read. It was interesting nonetheless. I do believe I knocked this out really fast, and I do like how this author has like illustrations throughout her books. I think it's just something fun that you don't see in chapter books very often, so there's like illustrations throughout. I thought the ending was a little unrealistic. Obviously I'm not going to spoil it. It's a fiction book, so I guess I will give it a pass. It was entertaining, so all around I give this a 4. I did give it a 4. Now I feel like it deserves 3.5, but I'll just keep it at 4. I'm trying to not be as harsh in my ratings. Next we have Flock by Kate Stewart. I was very excited to read this book because I didn't know what I was in for, and it definitely was a surprise. I could have never seen what happened in this story coming my way. So this one is I was gonna say throuple. Do people say that anymore? I don't know. There's 2 MMCs and there is 1 FMC. Celia, and then we have Sean and Dominic. The story was very intriguing because I didn't know where it was going. Celia has to move back to Triple Falls so that she meets the requirement for her inheritance from her father, and she has to work at his company or his factory, and that's where she meets Sean, and then soon meets Dominic through Sean. This story is all in the past. The prologue is in the present, but the whole book is in the past. There was a point in the book where I'm like, okay, when are we gonna like jump back to the future? It's kind of getting towards the end of the book, and you never get back to the future. It was more than just a regular love story, so I will say it did have that. I was not expecting what happened to happen, but I'm not gonna say because it's a big part of the plot that is not discussed on the back of the book, so I'm not gonna spoil it. I also gave Flock a 4 out of 5. Then we have The Burning Shadow by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I was so excited to read book 2 because I absolutely loved book 1, The Darkest Star. This is a trilogy. This one, the story advanced. It's definitely getting closer to the climax of the trilogy, I would say. It's drama-filled, action-filled, plot-filled, everything-filled. I would totally recommend this series. It is a YA supernatural series, and I would recommend you read it. I gave this a 4 out of 5 as well. I think I liked book 1 a little better. It's a lot of things that are happening in this book, so I had to like take pauses at times because there was just so much information, but I still enjoyed it a lot. It did leave on a cliffhanger, and the first one left on a cliffhanger as well, but this one was like cliffhanger, like mid-conversation cliffhanger. So I didn't love that, but also I'm like, you did get me. I will be buying book 3, so it did its job. And we have Leather and Lark. This is book 2 in the Ruinous trilogy. This is about the oldest brother and the FMC's best friend from book 1. Their love story, it had not arranged marriage, but marriage of convenience, I guess. They have to get married so people don't die. I'll just say that. I enjoyed it. I liked Butcher and Blackwood more, but I still did enjoy this book. I really enjoyed Lachlan's character. I think he was an absolute sweetheart. What I've learned from this trilogy is there are dark romances. Like they talk about unaliving people and things, and it's very gory and it's very graphic. But the love part is very fluffy, and it's so weird because I've never read a book that has both of those elements in it. This one was enjoyable. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I did enjoy the second half more than the first half. The next 6 books or whatever I read on Kindle Unlimited. The Broker by Nikki Sloan. I read all the other books in this series and I enjoyed all of them more than I enjoyed this one. It was very spicy, and for some reason I just couldn't get into it. And I think that's because I didn't really like either of the main characters that much. Charlotte was a Nepo baby and Noah was like a finance bro. Not to say that's why I couldn't connect with them, but maybe that added to it. And I did feel like the story was very cliche. It's like a forbidden relationship, and the way they get caught, it's very, I don't know, it just was all cliche. I gave it 3 out of 5. I was not impressed. It was my least favorite out of the whole series. Next, we have Blood Orange. I have been wanting to read this book for months. I was gonna buy the physical copy and then I just saw it on Kindle Limited and I was like, I can't wait. This is a paranormal vampire story. I know some people don't love vampires. I love me a good vampire romance. I will eat it up every single time. And this one was no exception. Loved Dahlia and Vaultu. Dahlia was an undercover witch who was sent to kill Vaultu. You know, typical enemies to lovers, supernatural romance, but it didn't feel cliche at all. The first chapter of this book was so captivating. I was like, oh, I'm locked in, ready to go. It started with Vaultu's history, and by the time the book was finished, I was speechless. I was so shocked that my mouth was literally dropped and I was like talking to myself in my apartment like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. Because I experienced such a big shock factor, I had to add to the rating. So I gave it a 4.5 on my personal scale, 5-star on Goodreads. So I'm just gonna say 5-star because it was a 5-star. For how I was feeling at the time, I'm gonna give it a 5-star. Because I loved Blood Orange so much, I decided to read Blood Rose right after that. So that is book 2 in this duology. I gave it a 3 out of 5. You were able to see a different side of the MMC in book 2 than in book 1. So I did enjoy that, but I feel like there was not enough plot. There was a portion of the book where it was very repetitive because they were in a place that they could not leave. And so it was just spicy after spicy after spicy after spicy. There was nothing else happening. There was no plot, there was no advancement. And I was like, this can't be the same book. This can't be part 2 of this story that I just love so much. Like, this can't be it. But it was. For that, it pissed me off. But it came all around in the end. It was a cute ending. But the middle lost me. I've never read a book 1 and then book 2 let me down so bad, but all around it was a fun time. I had a good time reading that duology. The next 2 books I read during my 24-hour challenge. Book 1 is Older by Jennifer Hartman, and I thought the story was very beautifully written. I love a good slow burn, and that one was definitely slow burn. It is taboo because there is such a big age jump. I honestly would have stopped reading the book if the writing was not so good. And Jennifer Hartman, I read one book by her before, Still Beating, and I absolutely love that. That was a 5-star for me last year. I stuck it out, and in the end, I really did enjoy their story. It's very dark. It touches on some hard topics like abuse and not feeling worthy or worth it. It just was very heartfelt. I got teary-eyed twice. So for that, I gave Older a 4 out of 5. Oh, also in Older, I forgot to say, it is the best friend's dad trope. Then we have Sinners Condemned. This is a mafia romance. Penelope and Raphael, I was just raving over during my 24-hour challenge. I absolutely loved both of them, love the banter between them. Penny ends up working for Raphael. She is basically a thief, but somehow ends up working for him as a bartender on a yacht. I feel like the story is very character driven. It was a lot of their interactions and their banter between each other. The chemistry was growing. This is part 1 of a 2-part series, so I have yet to read part 2, but I will be. Oh, also the slow burn in this book, chef's kiss, loved it, gave it a 4 out of 5. Then I read Phantasmo, which I have a reading vlog that's coming out in a few days, so I'm not going to talk about it because I talked about it in that one, but that was another book I read. And then last but not least, I have The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. I cannot believe I read this many books this month. Now this book here, this was Abby Jimenez's debut story. Sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing. I will say it was very fast and easy to read. This book took a turn. Like, this went from like, oh, cute, lovey-dovey rom-com vibe, kind of, to dark. Like, I almost cried dark. I could not believe it. Kristen cannot have kids, who is the maid of honor, and then Josh is the best man and he wants like a super big family, and obviously they meet each other and become closer throughout the wedding planning and things like that. Our relationship grows, and yeah, it does touch heavy topics. I just saw in the book, it says the friend zone will have you laughing 1 minute and grabbing for tissues the next, as it tackles the realities of infertility and the loss of wit, heart, and loss of sass. I didn't reread the synopsis when I picked this book up. I just like had an idea what it was in my head. When the grabbing for tissues moment hit, I was flabbergasted because I did not know it was gonna happen. All around, I would give this a 4 out of 5. It was my least favorite Abby Jimenez book, and I gave her other books 4 out of 5, but this would like rank lowest on the tier. I think first, I don't know actually, maybe Just for the Summer and then Yours Truly. Yes, and then The Friend Zone. That's the order of these Abby Jimenez books I've read thus far. I feel like I've been making this video for an hour and a half. I feel like I'm about to be set on fire. That is all 14 books I have read in the month of March. Please subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll be back for another one.